Profits at German carmaker Porsche plunged by nearly 96% in the first 9 months of this year.
The world's biggest luxury car makers are hitting the brakes. We're talking about brands like Porsche and Mercedes. They bet heavily on electric cars, but that bet is unraveling. Sales are falling, costs are surging, and profits are sliding.
Something is shifting in the global automotive world, and it's far more serious than a dip in sales or a slow product cycle. The legendary German automaker Porsche, long seen as the pinnacle of precision, power, and engineering excellence, is staring at the sharpest collapse in its history. Handelsblatt reports that its profits have plunged by an astonishing 99% over the past year, leaving the company in a state of turmoil few could have imagined. This is not a temporary setback or a rough financial quarter. It's a breaking point that could redefine the fate of an empire built on speed, craftsmanship, and national pride. Inside Germany, the unthinkable is now being discussed: partial or even full sale of Porsche to foreign investors. For the first time in decades, assembly lines have gone quiet, and major suppliers are being told their contracts are no longer needed. The aura of invincibility that surrounded Porsche is fading fast, and what's left behind is a crisis that could shake the foundation of Europe's entire auto industry. Germany's broader economic struggle is one of the main forces behind this downfall. The country that once fueled Europe's prosperity is sinking deeper into recession. The energy crisis sparked by the war in Ukraine has made industrial production painfully expensive. In some divisions, electricity and gas bills have multiplied by 4. Inflation is eating through profits, consumer confidence is down, and factories that once operated around the clock are now running at reduced capacity. German automakers have long relied on affordable energy to power their world-class manufacturing systems. Now that advantage has evaporated, and the entire model is cracking under pressure. But energy prices are only part of the storm. A new wave of competition from China is reshaping the global auto market faster than anyone expected. Chinese electric vehicle manufacturers like BYD, NIO, and XPeng have surged into Europe with models that are not only cheaper, but more advanced in software, battery efficiency, and AI integration. What was once seen as a distant threat is now an everyday reality on European roads. These sleek, tech-savvy electric cars appeal to a generation that values innovation over brand prestige. Reuters Automotive reports that Chinese EVs have expanded their share of the European Union market from just 2% to a staggering 22% in 2 years. That kind of growth leaves traditional European automakers scrambling. For Porsche, a company built on the promise of power, luxury, and heritage, this transformation strikes at its core identity. Its cars were once the dream of those chasing mechanical perfection and status. Now the industry's language has changed. The race is no longer about horsepower, it's about battery range, software updates, and AI-driven performance. Porsche, with decades of dominance in combustion engineering, is finding itself unprepared in a world that measures progress in kilowatts and data speed. Yet there's an even deeper danger, one that threatens not just Porsche, but Germany's ability to produce cars at all. The global supply chain for electric vehicles depends heavily on rare earth elements like lithium, nickel, graphite, and neodymium. These are the lifeblood of modern battery technology, and China controls most of their extraction and processing. The European Commission reports that more than 80% of the components for Porsche's Taycan batteries and other future electric models come from Chinese suppliers. If that access is lost, production could grind to a halt within months. And that's no longer a distant hypothetical. Beijing has begun tightening its export restrictions on these materials. According to the Mercator Institute for China Studies, this isn't an isolated policy, it's a calculated move. By limiting Europe's access to the key minerals that power electric vehicles, China increases its leverage over the continent's most prized industries. Once weakened, these same industries become easier targets for acquisition. Insiders in Berlin say Chinese investors have already attempted to buy stakes in Porsche several times, but the German government intervened, fearing public outrage over losing a national icon. One former official from Germany's Ministry of Industry revealed that back in 2023, Chinese diplomats had quietly proposed a strategic partnership, offering access to cutting-edge battery technology and massive investment in return for closer industrial cooperation. Berlin rejected it, unwilling to see its most prestigious automaker tied to Beijing's interests. But China doesn't move on easily. With German companies now vulnerable, it is advancing with precision, using both economic pressure and soft diplomacy to regain the upper hand. In recent months, Chinese state media outlets have ramped up narratives about the overvaluation of European brands and the inevitable shift of industrial dominance toward Asia. Analysts call this the preparatory stage of an economic takeover, an attempt to shape global opinion before major acquisitions take place. Reports from Bloomberg suggest that several Chinese investment funds operating through intermediaries in Hong Kong and Singapore have already prepared offers to buy controlling stakes in Porsche. Officially, these funds appear private, but behind them stand the interests of powerful state corporations in Beijing. Inside Germany, the reaction is one of alarm. The Bundestag has held multiple closed-door sessions to discuss what many are calling a crisis of national identity. Porsche isn't simply another car company. It's a cultural symbol, a badge of German precision admired across the globe. Losing it would mean more than a business failure. It would represent the collapse of an entire era of European industrial supremacy. But China's ambitions stretch far beyond the takeover of a single brand. Economists point out that Beijing is trying to rewrite the global order that Europe once dominated. For decades, Europe set the standards in technology, design, and luxury. Now, China dictates the pace. Its rise in electric mobility, battery innovation, and digital infrastructure has put it in control of nearly every key link in the modern industrial chain. The current crisis at Porsche is simply one visible chapter in a much larger transformation. BMW, Volkswagen, and Mercedes-Benz are all increasingly dependent on the Chinese market for sales and raw materials. Yet Porsche, because of its fame and symbolic status, has become the first to feel the full force of this economic shift. Insiders at Porsche's headquarters in Stuttgart describe a tense atmosphere. Executives are weighing three possible paths: cutting production to reduce losses, selling off assets to stabilize finances, or entering a strategic partnership with Asian investors. None of these options come without risk. But the longer the crisis continues, the more likely the company will have to accept outside control. Analysts say this outcome is exactly what China anticipated. While Europe debated environmental regulations and subsidies, China spent the past decade building an entire ecosystem for electric mobility, mining resources, refining materials, developing batteries, and scaling production at an unmatched pace. That planning is now paying off. In this economic chess match, China holds the first move, and it is playing with confidence. If the situation remains unchanged within the next couple of years, Porsche could officially fall under Chinese ownership, likely under the guise of a partnership to save the brand. But in practice, it would mark something far greater: Europe's quiet surrender to a new industrial reality. It would signal the end of an era when German engineering was untouchable. The German government knows this and is scrambling for solutions. Inside Berlin's ministries, emergency meetings have become routine. According to reports from Die Welt, Chancellor Friedrich Merz has instructed the development of a massive support plan for automakers. The proposal includes potential state investments and even partial nationalization of major companies to prevent foreign takeovers. Yet, not everyone agrees. The Ministry of Finance warns that such measures could spiral into an unsustainable financial burden, while members of the Industrial Committee argue that focusing solely on Porsche would only mask a deeper systemic collapse. There's growing division within the coalition itself. Some politicians see intervention as a matter of national pride, insisting Germany cannot allow its iconic brands to fall under foreign control. Others caution that propping up failing industries would only delay necessary transformation. Meanwhile, as Germany debates, China continues to expand its influence, unmoved by Europe's internal conflicts. In Beijing, the official response to Buyout German warnings has been calm, almost dismissive. Chinese state agency Xinhua published a series of articles claiming that Europe's industrial dominance is over and that Germany must learn to adapt to the new global balance. It's a message that resonates across Asia and reinforces China's growing confidence. The psychological blow of this crisis may be as damaging as the financial one. Porsche has always represented something beyond luxury. It was a symbol of innovation, endurance, and European craftsmanship. To see that emblem of perfection face potential foreign takeover has left both industry veterans and loyal fans disillusioned. If Porsche truly comes under Chinese control, it will no longer be the Porsche we knew, wrote Automotor on Sport, echoing the sentiment spreading across Europe. This imbalance didn't appear overnight. It's the result of long-term strategy. China has spent decades securing global influence over raw materials and production chains, while Europe relied on its established reputation and legacy. That legacy now feels outdated in a world where consumers choose smart, connected vehicles over the roar of traditional engines. The old formula of German excellence no longer guarantees dominance, and Porsche's downfall is a warning to every company still clinging to past glory. If nothing changes, no breakthrough innovation, no political deal, no unexpected lifeline from Beijing, then Europe could soon witness one of its proudest symbols pass into foreign hands. A brand that once defined perfection may be remembered as the first to surrender in a silent economic war. The shift won't come with explosions or speeches, but with signatures, transactions, and quiet factory closures that rewrite decades of history. Will Germany find a way to protect its industrial soul? Or is this the moment Europe watches its legacy slip away? Could the fall of Porsche become the warning shot of a larger transformation already in motion? Thanks for watching. If you want to stay ahead of the stories shaping the new global order, make sure to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you don't miss what happens next.